Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by Latorre. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show. If you want to join a community of like-minded bloggers and entrepreneurs, please join my Facebook group. It's called the Latorre Mastermind Group. If you go to Facebook and you search for it, you'll find it. You can join it. I'd love to have you be a part of it. I'm in there all the time. I'm going live. In fact, every week I go live and talk about my most recent podcast episode. So it's a great way to continue the conversation. It's also a great place to ask questions, to share, to support. So please go to Facebook and join the Latorre Mastermind Group, and I look forward to getting to know you. For today's episode, I am interviewing Kimberly Espinel, and she has so many titles. She is a food photographer, a prop stylist, and food stylist. She is a food photography teacher. She's an Instagram growth coach. She's a podcaster and a food blogger. And if you want to see beautiful food photography, head over to her site, which is called The Little Plantation. Oh, her photos just make me swoon. We talk about how she grew her business, and the word that I'm going to say is organically. How she discovered the power of Instagram and has used it in a whole host of interesting, cool, creative ways. So without further delay, please enjoy my conversation with Kimberly Espinel. Kimberly, welcome to the show. I'm really excited to talk with you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
You have a beautiful food blog, and you've really turned it into, a whole business with lots of different moving parts. So I want to talk about all of this stuff and how you did it. So briefly, can you share your entrepreneurial journey, when you started, what inspired you, and how your business has grown since then?
Firstly, thank you so much for your kind words. Really made me blush, actually. So That's really sweet. Thank you. I would say I started my food blog, already now almost 6 years ago, as a matter of fact. So in 2014. And I started it because after I had my son, I changed my diet to a plant-based diet. And I was really excited about it and just wanted to blog about it and share my recipes with the world. So that was really my start. It was just this excitement about plant-based foods. And at the time, actually, I was retraining to be a nutritional therapist. So I thought, let me share these recipes. And then by the time I graduate, I'll have a whole bank of recipes that I can share with potential clients. And that was really my thinking. But
so it was not to build a blog and monetize a blog?
No, never even occurred to me. That was not my strategy. That was not my plan. But as I started to do the blog, a couple of things that were happening. One was I realized that my photography just wasn't up to scratch. I was like, I really want people to eat more broccoli and cauliflower and what have you. But if my photos don't look great, then no one's going to take note. So I need to up my game. I need to get better. And then the more I practiced, the more passionate I became about the food photography side. So much so that by the time I graduated from my nutrition studies, my passion for food photography, had taken over my passion for nutrition. And I really decided, so my nutrition studies was 3 years. So I essentially had the blog for 3 years by the time I graduated. And then by that point, I decided rather than going into becoming a nutritional therapist and that to focus on food photography, styling, and the food blog full time. So I had the blog for 3 years before I turned it into a business.
Wow.
full-time.
So you were not monetizing at all. This was all just as kind of a side hobby.
Oh my God, yes. So the first year, my photography was so bad that even if I had wanted to monetize it, that was not going to happen. I did get a few requests for sponsored content. Probably year 2 of the blog. And then by the end of year 2, I had somebody contact me actually quite out of the blue. And she said, I really love your blog. I love your photography. I live in Spain. I'm going to be in London, where I'm based, for a couple of days. And I was wondering if you could teach me all you know about food photography. And I was like, gosh, like that never even occurred to me. But yeah, of course. And so that was actually the beginning. So she came and we did a day-long workshop, and
Just the two of you.
Just the 2 of us. It was a one-to-one. She came into my home studio, and then we had a one-to-one, and I absolutely loved it. And also that really just opened my eyes. I was like, oh my God, I can do this. Like, this is possible. And so by the time I, moved into my the end of my 3rd year, I'd had some, people come in for one-to-one food photography. I'd had a few more sponsored content requests. And by the end of blogging for 3 years as a, quote unquote side hustle, I felt able to go in it, full force and really focus and be really intentional about monetizing my blog in that way.
Okay, so tell me then how you started. I'm getting over a cold. How you started that? Like, how did you think about building that part of your business?
So, do you mean the
food
one-to-one?
photography? Because so it started one-to-one, but now you offer so many different services in food photography.
Yes, that's right. So I did mainly one-to-one for the very first year of my business, and I still do one-to-ones. And to be honest with you, I know that in the online sphere, this, one-to-many model is really hailed as like the model, the best model, the thing to go for. But actually, personally, I feel the fact that I have done so much one-to-one really gives me an edge over many of my other competitors, because really spending 6-7 hours with a student one-to-one and really observing where they're getting stuck. Where are they struggling? What's stopping them from understanding light and shadow and all the things that I teach has helped me build then my online course and respond to those struggle points and all the things that like when I teach a certain way and I can just see the penny drop, like I can see it happening. I know, okay, this is how I need to teach it in a group setting, or this is how I need to teach it in my online course. And so I think it's given me an edge because I'm really empathetic. Like I can really put myself in my students' shoes and help them move through blocks and feeling stuck in their food photography. But once I had, all my one-to-ones were selling out really, really quickly.
And can I ask, how much did you charge for a one-day, one-on-one coaching session or workshop?
I started, it was super in retrospect, at the time I was like, oh my God, 200 pounds, which is maybe $300. I don't know. And, of course my prices have since increased with experience and all the rest of it, but, they were very affordable. And that's also when I realized it's like, maybe I'm undercharging that they're selling out so quickly. So every time I was selling out, I was like, okay, so every quarter I review my prices, and if things have sold out really quickly, I know I'm undercharging, and then I increase and so on. But also the other thing I did after my first year, so after my first year of being full-time food blogger, I had so much work. And then when I looked at my income, it was really nothing to write home about. And what I decided to do was to hire a business coach to really get to the bottom of what was going on in my business. I was getting all this work, but my bank account wasn't reflecting that. And so we did a lot of work in terms of money mindset, pricing, but also kind of thinking about how I could diversify my offerings. Because, on one-to-one, unless I charged loads, it was going to be really, really hard to meet my financial goals. So that's when the idea of doing more group workshops and also the online course came in.
Got it. Okay. So that's what my next question is, did you start doing workshops where you could have 5 students or 10 students or?
Yes. So I've done a lot of different size workshops. I have to say where I feel I thrive as a teacher is in small groups. So I tend not to take more than 8 students. So it's really, really focused and small. And it's because I really want my students to succeed. And I have done workshops where there have been 25 students. And I've just always come out feeling that I spread myself too thin. And every teacher is different. Like I think there are some teachers who can do that and really make their students, thrive and shine. And actually, I heard Brene Brown say something the other day in an interview in another podcast, actually. And she said that some people are faster, further sort of people, and other people are closer and deeper. And I think I'm a closer, deeper person. And I know that as a teacher, that's where I shine. I know that's where I get the best out of my students. But then, of course, my prices reflect that as well. So, but yeah, I feel that that's the better scenario. Having said that, after doing my online course, and my online course is a live course. So
explain what that means.
Yeah. So it means that we meet live. I use Zoom. And so I'm there with my students and we go through the course material together and we discuss homework together. And again, I keep it to about 8 to 10, no more. And after having done that model for a year, again, I had to sit back and okay, if I can only take so many students, that means 2 things. One is that some people are going to be priced out of that package. And 2, in terms of revenue growth, there's going to be a ceiling, there's going to be a cap. And so for the first time this year, I've also offered the course as a pre-recorded course. So that's kind of how I built it out. So kind of step by step, touching into where I feel I shine as a teacher, and then also tuning into what students need and what they've requested and responded to that. So a lot of the students I teach, my live course is at 12:30 Greenwich Mean Time. And so people on the West Coast in the US, for example, they're like, that's like 4 a.m. in the morning. That's just not possible. And I was like, okay, so there's those people. There's people who are just slightly priced out of the package that I offer. That's when the pre-recorded course came in. And it's done really, really well, actually.
Oh, that's terrific. Now, how do you promote it?
So the way I do it, I teach the online course. I've taught it actually 3 times a year. This year, just twice because of a big other project I'm working on, my book. But the way I do it is I have a mailing list. That's number 1. And so quite a few spots go to my mailing list subscribers. And then the other thing I do is I run a Instagram food photography challenge. And I time my challenge around the launch time of my e-course, so that anybody who signs up to that, of course, goes on the mailing list, but also as part of the challenge, when I announce the winners and all the rest of it, I use that as a way to promote my e-course. And generally, I also sell really, really well to challenge participants.
That's terrific. Let's talk about then, what does your challenge look like?
So my challenge is called Eat, Capture, Share, and I host the challenge exclusively on Instagram. And the way it works is you have to sign up to the mailing list. And when you do, you get 4 weeks worth of themes sent to you. So to give you an example, week 3 for the winter challenge was called Learning from the Masters. So we took inspiration from people like Frida Kahlo, Vermeer, and Miro was the third one. And so that every week has 3 challenges, and I teach something in relation to that. So with Vermeer, for example, who's this Dutch painter, he works with really dark and moody images. And so my teaching around that was like, how can you create those images? What do you need to do with your light and shadow work? And giving some tips around it, and then setting the challenge. And then everybody photographs their food in that style. And at the end of each week, I crown 2 winners, a winner and a runner-up for each specific theme. So you get the themes, which are a lot of fun. You get tips, and then you also have a chance to win and win a shout out on my Instagram and then also on my grid.
Nice. Okay. Now, are you teaching, let's say, every week how to, create mood and stuff in the challenge, or are these written tips in the email? Like how, because is this also where your Facebook Live is coming in?
Yes. So I'll break it down because so firstly, you sign up to the email list, then you get all the themes sent to you. So you know in advance what the 12 themes, so 3 themes per week for 4 weeks, what the 12 themes are. And then every week you get a mood board for a specific theme to get inspiration and a tip related to each. So I share 12 images and 12 tips in, the 4 emails that you get. Then there's a live show, usually on a Sunday evening, where we look at the winners and I analyze the images. So I'm like, okay, these are winning images because look at how they use layers, look at how they use the color theory, or, I really explain why the image is good. Because sometimes we see a food photo and we can see that it's beautiful, but we don't quite know why. And
Absolutely. Yes.
It's really hard to replicate the beauty of it. And so I break it down to really guide students into recognizing beauty and what makes beauty, and then finding their own style and, trying things at home, that kind of thing. So there's tips in the email, and then there's also tips that I share during the live.
I love that.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then people ask questions as well. So I announce the winners and, the tips then, and then afterwards we also have a Q&A session, so people can either ask live in the moment, or a lot of the times I ask people to submit questions in advance, so I can also prep or bundle certain questions together. And so there's that Q&A section as well. And then I don't do a Facebook Live, but what I do is I save the Instagram Live onto my phone, and then I upload it into my Facebook group, because if you're mailing list subscriber, you get access to my Facebook group. So it's an exclusive closed group just for mailing list subscribers. So if you miss the live, or if you want to rewatch it, or if there were tips I shared and you're like, oh, I don't know what you meant, let me see it again, then it'll be saved forever. That tutorial, that mini masterclass, so to say, will be saved forever inside the Facebook group. And so you can rewatch it as many times as you want.
Imagine growing your Instagram followers with no work. Highly engaged followers. Now imagine it with Pinterest, Facebook, YouTube. How about new email subscribers? Seriously, no work. This is all possible if you install the Milotree pop-up on your blog. David, my husband, and I started our blog, Catch My Party, in 2009. We've since grown it into the largest party ideas site on the web with millions of page views per month. We did it with hard work and our secret weapon, our Milotree pop-up, which David built for us. We've grown our Pinterest followers to over 1.3 million and our Instagram followers to over 164,000. And right now, 8,000 other bloggers just like you are using Milotree to grow their businesses. With Milotree, you can focus on growing one platform or switch between several. But here is the important thing. If you aren't converting your visitors into followers, subscribers, and customers, you're honestly wasting your own traffic. Make this asset, your visitors, work for you. Since we're bloggers, we get bloggers. So we've optimized Milotree like crazy. It's a snap to install. It won't slow your site down. It's Google friendly on mobile, and it's so darn cute. You can even add animated sparkles to your pop-up if you like. Sign up now and get your first 30 days for free. Please pause this episode and head to milotree.com to sign up. I know you will thank me. As a bonus, once you sign up, I'm going to send you weekly actionable business tips to help you grow your business. I've been at this a long time and I have a lot to share. Remember, your scarcest resource is not money, it's time. So let Milotree free up time for you so you can focus on the other important parts of your business. So what are you waiting for? Hit pause, head to Milotree, and sign up today. I love how everything is intentional and everything is leading to something else.
Yeah.
And that there are So there are little rewards along the way. So for in a week, when you have 3 challenges, are there 3 winners per week or one winner who's done all 3 challenges?
No, there's for each theme, there's a winner and a runner-up.
Okay.
So, and I have to say that's not how it used to be. I just used to have one winner per challenge, but then I had a lot of feedback from the audience to say, the last challenge, nearly 1,000 people signed up. So, that's a lot of
That is a
entries.
lot, yes.
And just to have 3 people win. So I had a lot of feedback to say, please, can we have more than one winner? And so now I have a winner and a runner-up for each theme. And then at the very end of the challenge, I crown a creative of the season. So that's the one person who throughout the challenge, just their images were just incredible and or different and or spectacular. And I also crown a rising star. So that's somebody who's maybe not quite there yet, but I can really see that they're trying and that they're working hard. And so I want to honor people who are doing their best, who are maybe using their phone still but showing up and doing the work. And so that's kind of how it's structured.
And I find I can hear your passion for your students, and it's very inviting and supportive, and like you are their best cheerleader, and I can feel that. Like I want to join your challenge.
Oh, that's so sweet. Please do.
I will. Well, what I think is so interesting again is like you took this interest of food photography, and then you found students who were interested in learning from you, and you've been able to take that energy, that connection, that purpose, and then repurpose it in a whole host of different ways.
That's correct. Like I really feel, because you very kindly sent me some questions in advance to prep for the podcast today. But I really feel the success of my business has been to respond to my audience's needs, because truth is I started, as I mentioned, as a food blog. So I shared recipes, but as I was going along, I noticed that if I shared something about food photography, I just got more blog hits. If I shared something about how I grew my Instagram, I just got way more blog hits. So I just like, okay, wait a minute. So my blog stats are telling me this. Do I continue on this path, or do I lean into what my audience wants? Yep. And so, I did the latter. And that's really been, and every offering that I've developed subsequently has been because of what people have said they wanted. My blog stats have reflected, the likes on Instagram have shown me, and I've always gone down that path.
Absolutely. And we talked about this before I pressed record. That is always what I am teaching, which is you have a hypothesis. Yes. You start off on a path, which is you're like, I'm just going to do some food blogging so that while I'm in school to learn to teach people about food and diet. And then all of a sudden you start getting feedback, and the feedback changes your direction, but keeps you like you didn't know you'd be on this path, but it's satisfying your soul because it is about food, and it is about beauty, and it is about connection and teaching. And so you've been able to take those inherent gifts and loves and skills and just twist it in a way where an audience shows up for it. And you had no idea.
Absolutely. And there's so many other things that have happened specifically as a result of the challenge. Again, being very strategic. The reason I set up the challenge was because I wanted to grow my email list. So I just thought, okay, what can I do to grow my email list? People are really interested in food photography, my tips. How about I put the challenge together? Because I've been running the challenge now for 3 years. So, that was the very first strategic moves. I said, that's what I wanted to do. But actually what's happened is the challenge has evolved into a community. So people who participate follow each other, cheer each other on. It's just become this like big family. I just love that I've had people from Taiwan participate, Australia, New Zealand, the US, Brazil, everywhere, just everywhere in the world. And everybody, that we can bond over food photography. We can bond over delicious food and this coming together. I love that. People who never would have come together otherwise come together. And as a matter of fact, I have met people through the challenge that, we've become kind of friends through the challenge. And one of them is actually, she's from New Zealand. She's won a couple of the challenges. I love her work. And she just texted me the other day. She said, you know what, I'm coming to London in the summer. Shall we meet up? And of course, she's part of the community. She's part of the family. So it's been wonderful. It's been a wonderful side effect.
That is so fantastic. So now, are you doing regular food blogging, or has your whole business shifted to teaching people how to be food bloggers?
I still do food blogging, not as regularly as I did before, but I do it for my soul. I love it. I enjoy it. I love writing recipes. And also, it is still an income stream. So I still have companies come to me and ask for a sponsored post. So it's not the bulk of my business, but it is a nice, income stream for me. So I do still do that. And I love keeping that, the foundation I started was sharing plant-based recipes. And that's definitely not the biggest part of my business, but it's still there. And I love it. So I keep going with it.
So how did you then segue into teaching people about Instagram? So first is photography.
Yes.
And now it looks like you have a whole other piece of your business about Instagram.
Yeah. So there's two other pieces. So one is I now also work as a food photographer. And I would say that's actually the bulk of my business. That's a bulk of my income is food photography work that I do for brands, restaurants, that kind of thing.
So somebody so somebody comes to you, let's say a restaurant or craft or whomever, and then maybe not craft, but says, will you do this? Do they tell you the recipe, or do they say, go make something interesting with my product, or kind of how does that work?
So sometimes it's restaurant photography. So I just have to go into the restaurant and shoot what's there. Or sometimes they come to my studio and we shoot it here if it's for a menu or something like that. Sometimes it is, packaged food. So it might be energy bars or things like that. So it's not anything within the food or drink. I do that. So the photography, I don't style. I just do the photography and deliver the images. So that's really the bulk of my business now, I would say.
Really?
But
okay.
Yes. Yeah.
And do you like that?
I love it.
Really?
I love it. I do feel a little bit like an imposter. I'm like, I didn't even study photography, but I find it hard. I find it hard and challenging, and that excites me because it's about capturing someone else's vision and bringing it to life. So it's not about what I like or what I want, but it's about injecting what I know into their vision. And that's a whole other skill. And it's been so fun and so exciting. And also, a lot of them are startups. So a lot of them come to me because they're just setting up their restaurant or they're rebranding or, so it's almost being part of this new thing that's being born, this new food story that's being born. So that's really, really fun.
I like
the other part.
I just have to say, I love the expression food story, because I think that is what you are, is a storyteller with food.
Exactly. But the other part is the Instagram. And I have to think about, so yes, this is how it happened. So I grew my Instagram. This is pre-algorithm, I have to say, but in 1 year I grew, I think 20,000 or 30,000 followers in just 1 year. And so what I started noticing, and I have to say organically, so I didn't pay for ads then or nothing, here we say dodgy, nothing sketchy, nothing untoward, but all organically. And I would get a lot of DMs or messages, emails to say, how did you do it? How did you do it? Or stuff like, do you want to meet up for coffee and tell me how
share
you did it?
Share your secrets. Yes. For free.
Exactly. So then what I did is I started something called the Instagram series, which is a set of blog posts around trends, developments, tips, tricks around Instagram. So those are free blog posts, and I'm very happy to give you the URL. So
Please. Yeah.
any
Well,
listeners
I
wanted to
will, I'll put it in our show
visit.
notes.
Amazing. So it just has blog posts of things that were happening. So the start of the algorithm, anything that's affecting it, other things I noticed. And I just wrote that in a blog post. And those blog posts were unbelievably popular. And so one especially did really, really well, which was called Why Am I Losing Followers on Instagram? And so from that, I developed a little e-guide that I sold, which sold really well. And then I also did the what I now call Instagram mentoring sessions. So, where bloggers can speak to me to talk about how to grow their audience on Instagram. I also take a wider lens perspective, but my focus is mainly Instagram because that's where my expertise lies. And so, yeah, that's kind of taken on a life of its own too. So, again, just responding to what people were and asking for. And that's how those things came about.
And is that like one-on-one coaching, or are you doing courses or leading workshops on Instagram?
So I do one-on-one, and I also do 2 master classes, which are group master classes a year. So there's 2 master classes and then one-on-ones. But it's really, I don't promote it, I have to say. But a lot of the times what I do is people who come for the group or the one-to-one food photography sessions, we build that into the session. So maybe the last hour of the one-to-one we dedicate to Instagram strategy. So that's how that works.
Got it. Okay. And then let's talk. So initially, when I reached out to you, it was about talking about Instagram Live. And I know you've shared that you do your challenges and you do your Instagram Lives. Are you using Instagram Live in other ways?
I don't know. So it was really interesting because again, the reason the live was in part a very strategic move. So I thought, Instagram stories is getting really crowded. How can I stand out? How can I do something that's a little bit different? And so that's when I decided to do Instagram Live, because it takes an extra bit of guts, I guess, to go
definitely,
live.
definitely.
You can redo it. And so I knew that the space wasn't going to be quite as crowded. And so that was the strategic move behind that. But then, of course, what happened is when you go live and people interact with you, the bond that you feel with your audience just intensifies. So that's made me come back for more again and again. But I've seen a lot of people do random lives, so to say. So, they're out and about and they just to go live. And I think there's a place for that. But I really wanted to step onto that platform intentionally and show myself as the expert that I am and also offer value. And so for me, that means lesson planning for the live and thinking it through and being sure that whoever tunes in is going to walk away with something tangible.
Yep.
Exactly. Rather than, oh, look,
you're a target
seeing in Paris or whatever,
Right.
Exactly. Which it has, it can also serve a purpose of showcasing you as the authentic person that you are, but it's not, I don't think that's my most valuable way of showing up for my audience.
Are you doing lots of stories?
I do stories. Yes, I love stories, but again, stories I do more in terms of behind the scenes. So my photography setups or also me as a person. So yes, I do that as well. And I think that's okay, because I'm not asking, people can just swipe away and move on. But if I'm asking people to tune into live, it needs to be worth The other thing is, because I know that's a big anxiety why a lot of people don't go live, is if I go live, what if nobody tunes in? What if I show up and nobody tunes in?
Right.
So what I would recommend, if that is something you worry about, announce it. So I always go live on Sundays. So I post on my grid on Saturdays and I say, listen guys, there's going to be a mini live tutorial on Instagram, 7 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time tomorrow. Put it in your diary. And then I post again on the Sunday morning to reiterate it. So whoever didn't hear it on the Saturday, to make sure. So that's number one. So I announce it on the grid. I would recommend that. Number two, I put, you know how in Instagram stories you can put a countdown?
Yes.
So put the countdown on the Saturday and I put the countdown again on the Sunday morning. And a lot of people then click onto the reminder. I email it out 3 or 4 days before to my mailing list and say, listen, if you're participating in the challenge, remember this is happening. And if you're not participating in the challenge, still tune in. You might get some tips, tricks, what have you. So I really cover all bases so that if I go live, there is no way that people aren't going to tune in. So I would really recommend, if that's your anxiety about going live, that's a really, really good way around it.
I think that's terrific. Okay. Now, what would you say in your experience is working on Instagram, both in terms of in your grid, in your feed, and also in stories? And I know it's audience specific. So things that work with your audience might not work with somebody else who can go to Target and go live and people are fascinated.
So if I had to give my top 3 tips,
that'd be great.
Thinking about the students that I've worked with, the questions. So number one is you actually have to produce content. You actually have to show up regularly. And the reality is the way that the platform is now, and I talk about this in one of my podcasts as well. I've talked about it in the live, but it's called decay, so post decay. Say in the olden days, way back when, if you posted something, your post would just last so much longer. So days, especially even weeks, it would still pop up in their feed. They would like it, what have you, in discovery. Now the posts decay so quickly. So to really grow, you need to post at least once a day. And if that's not possible, five times a week, I think any significant growth. Most of the bloggers I know who are really, really gaining traction at this point in time are posting 2 to 3 times a day. And I think if you really want to grow, that's number one. So really posting regularly. Number 2, the quality. So not just your visuals, but also in your captions. So both of those just have to be on. Visuals, self-explanatory, just has to be really, I would say good is just not good enough anymore at the moment, just because it's so crowded. And in terms of captions, I always think it's not about you, it's about your audience. It's about engagement, connecting, showing interest, and that has to really shine through in a quality caption. And the third one, I think, is about adding value. So one is, communicating and the other is adding value. You can do that on stories. You can do that on live. You can do that on your grid. You can do that on IGTV, whatever one you want. But there has to be an element of value. Something, maybe share a recipe, a food photography tip, or if you're a food and travel photographer or blogger, the 5 best restaurants to go to in Paris or Milan or wherever it is, right? Like, add some value. And those 3 things I think are really allowing people to gain traction at the moment.
That's terrific. Now, what about in terms of DMs? Are you interacting with your audience through the platform?
I am definitely, not so much, because as I said, my main focus at the moment is food photography work. So it just means I really try and step onto Instagram rather than, because if not, it's a little bit of a rabbit hole and I could be scrolling 3 hours later and still not have done the work that I need to do. So there is that. And I think DMs can be like that a little bit too. What I love about Instagram now, and I do use that function a lot, is you can leave voice notes. And I
love that. Yes,
because it's way more from, just on a practical perspective is just much quicker, but also it just is so much more personal. And I think it just shows that you care. And
Yes.
so when I do engage in DM, I usually send a voice note. So that would definitely be, and I always get a heart back or, oh my God, thank you for being so thoughtful. Like people really, really appreciate it. And
Yes.
so that's definitely something to do.
I think that is such a great tip. And I've shared this before, but I use a program called Bonjour where when somebody signs up for Latorre, and I don't do this to everybody, but if the stars align, I'll send them a little video clip and just to thank them for signing up and to ask them if they have questions. And then what I always say is, tell me the platform. So with Latorre, you can grow Instagram, you can grow Pinterest, you can grow YouTube, you can grow your email list, you can grow Facebook. And so I always say, what is the platform? You can grow multiple at a time. What is the platform you're most interested in growing? And I will send you materials, podcast episodes I've done that will help you grow that platform more quickly. And it's amazing because people will go, "Oh my God, that's you!" You know, and you're saying, "Hey, Kara, thanks for signing up." And it's like, what? So there is something to that personal touch in our world today where I think we feel somewhat isolated. It cuts through the noise and it says, no, there's a real caring person on the other side.
Yes. And it goes back to something I said earlier. I really feel that I'm a deeper, closer person. And I
am
also
too.
think,
Yes.
and I wonder if in today's day and age, most of us want to be seen. We want to be seen. We want to be seen for the creatives we are. We want somebody to notice that we're there.
Yep.
And so those little things make people just smile. So, so that's definitely something I love doing. And if it comes from the heart, do it,
Yes,
do it.
I was just thinking, this is a random tangent, but like, even with my daughter, when she was very little, I used to say to her, I see you. Whether she was climbing on something or putting on whatever, I see you. And I think there is something to that. We want to be seen. And when you make this, I think, shift in your business, and it's not about you, but it's about seeing that other person and seeing where they are and helping them move to that next step, I think there's nothing more powerful.
Absolutely.
Oh, wow. Okay. Kimberly, this has been so mind-blowing. Honestly, thank you. And if people want to reach out to you, how can they do that and learn more?
The best place to find me is actually on Instagram. I'm The Little Plantation there. You can also come and visit my blog, The Little Plantation, and as I said, I'll give you that link to the Instagram series.
Is it an easy thing to say? Say it just in case people can know.
Don't
All right.
know it off by heart.
Okay, no problem.
I don't know it off by heart, and I wouldn't want to give you the wrong one. But
yes.
The thing is, if you go to thelittleplantation.co.uk, I have one of my top tabs there is Instagram, and you'll see it there.
Okay.
Instagram tips. I think
and
it's
we
called.
will definitely include it. So
fantastic.
You will definitely get it.
Well,
sorry, keep going.
Sorry, just one more thing, if I may.
Yes.
And then the other thing is I have a podcast called Eat, Capture, Share. And if you love podcasts and you want to listen in and get some food photography tips, then that's another great place to connect with me.
Oh, awesome. Well, I have to tell you, this has been you've warmed my heart.
Oh, yay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
I hope you guys enjoyed my conversation with Kimberly. She, to me, just oozes authenticity and passion for her students and for what she's putting out in the world. She is definitely a deeper, closer person, and you can feel that. And I don't know about you, but I feel like I know who she is, and I feel so much trust and such a connection. And that is my biggest takeaway from this episode. If you are trying to grow your Instagram followers, definitely check out Milotree. Head to milotree.com, install it on your site in 2 minutes, and start growing your Instagram followers using your own traffic. These are people who already have been on your site, who like what you're doing, who will then become those raving fans that you want on Instagram. And remember, you get your first 30 days free, so there is no risk. And I will see you here again next week.